Hello there. These days, I'm seeing the son of my boss. He's a handsome young man, much younger than me. I've been too embarrassed to tell anyone, but today I feel compelled to share my story online. I am a woman in her 50s. Let me introduce my family. I have a son and a daughter. Both are working now. I don't have a husband. My husband passed away when our eldest child was in middle school and became a star in the sky. He was devoted to his work, so much so that I used to say he seemed busier than the president. He would come home late on weekdays and even on weekends. He would receive many work-related calls. Thankfully, our children grew up well. Despite his busy schedule, my husband always made time to play with our children. He was like a friend to them. Whenever he found time, he would take us to museums, experiential places, newly built shopping malls, valleys, and beaches. Thanks to him, we made many memories. I worked as well, but my workplace was near home, so it was a bit easier for me. My mother lived in the same apartment complex, so she would look after the children when I had to work late. I also frequently met and spent time with my sister's family, who lived just 15 minutes away from home. Some sons-in-law find it uncomfortable to live close to their mother-in-law's house, but my husband was quite gentle. He thought it would be better for both of us if we lived near my parents after having a child. So we moved to the apartment where my parents lived. My job involved dealing with people and was funded by the country's taxes, so I had to be very meticulous, which made me quite edgy throughout the day. But when I came home and saw our children's playful antics, it helped me unwind and relieve the day's stress. We lived an ordinary life, just like everyone else, until one day, we noticed that my husband's health was deteriorating. He suddenly lost weight and was diagnosed with cancer. I left our children with my parents and devoted myself to nursing my husband, but he passed away in less than a year. Fortunately, we had good insurance, so we received a decent amount of insurance money. Without my husband, I felt extremely empty, but living with my busy son helped me gradually forget. I had to feed and live with my children somehow. The boss knew about my husband's death and called me back to work. It was difficult to work for a while, but with his encouragement, I was able to work gratefully. Before going to bed, I started reading posts on a local online cave and found that there were quite a few people who had gone through painful experiences like me. I started meeting with these people and gradually let go of my pain. Of course, religion played a part as well. My family regained strength and stood up again. The workplace I mentioned is operated with the country's money. However, a clerical worker made a mistake, which led to an investigation. As a result, it was found that he had been overcharging for a long time, and the rumor spread that our business had mishandled its work, so we had to close it down. As a result of that incident, I found myself unemployed. Of course, I was able to get by for a few months with the unemployment benefits I received due to the closure of the business. But with the cost of my children's education, I had to find a new job. That's when I came across a job advertisement in a local community. The job was to inspect knit products, and the factory was about a 10-minute drive from my home. I had always worked in my field of study, in an office, but I had never worked in a factory. That was my first time setting foot in a factory. I was interviewed by a woman who appeared to be about my age. She introduced herself as the team leader of the factory. She said that the boss was always on the move and wouldn't be around much. She said that while experienced people are good at this job, those who are willing to learn and pay attention to detail often find it enjoyable. She said it's not a headache. You can listen to whatever you want with your earphones in, and all you have to do is meet your daily quota. I thought it would be fun once I got used to it. She asked me to give an answer on the spot if I could, so I said I would start working from the following Monday. Then I started going to the factory. I greeted my coworkers and started working. At noon, we went to a nearby restaurant for lunch, and we didn't have to pay. They had a contract with the restaurant and would settle the bill later. We had coffee until 1 o'clock, chatted with the coworkers, and then got back to work. At 3 o'clock, they told us to stop working. I asked the person sitting next to me what was going on, and she said it was snack time. There was a young male worker in the factory who was quite handsome. I asked a coworker about him, and she said he was the boss' son. His name was Theron, and he was studying business after graduating from college. Theron was very kind, giving out snacks to the older women and greeting them. The same was true for the other workers. The workers were mostly middle-aged women in their 40s and 50s, and there was even an older sister who seemed to be in her late 60s. Working in a factory involves repetitive tasks, so my shoulders and arms hurt. I thought I might develop an occupational disease from doing this work, but a coworker told me, "You'll get used to this job too. At first, you'll have to go to the hospital for physical therapy, but later, it won't hurt because your body gets used to it. Think of it as a passing phase." She was right. For the first few weeks after I started working, I went to the hospital after work. How could a housewife not use her arm as advised? I had to prepare meals for my children at home, do laundry, wash dishes, tidy up. I had no time to rest. My daughter, feeling sorry for me working in a factory, created a steam towel for me. She soaked a washcloth in water, put it in a plastic bag, and microwaved it for a minute. Keeping it on the sore parts helped relax the tense muscles. My body was tired, but it was good. Not having to deal with paperwork and getting to know the neighborhood ladies. I had fun going to work. To introduce myself, I've been complimented for my looks since I was young, which is a bit embarrassing to admit. I'm of average height, and despite being a mom of 2, I've been blessed with a body that doesn't easily gain weight. I'm really grateful for that. While others spend a lot of money to lose weight, I've never had to diet in my life. Even by my own standards, I thought I was the most attractive among those who worked in the knit factory. In fact, I was going to the factory every day looking forward to seeing Theron. Every day, Theron would kindly say, "You're working hard. Enjoy your snack and bring new snacks." It's strange how the heart works. I started to have feelings for Theron, who was only a few years older than my son. I asked a coworker if Theron had a girlfriend, and she said she didn't know for sure, but probably not. I never expected to harbor such strange feelings. I started dressing up every day to look good for Theron. I should have worn comfortable clothes for work, but I put up with the discomfort and wore tight-fitting clothes. As I mentioned earlier, I was confident about my body. I felt Theron give me an extra glance as he gave me a snack and left. I started working at the beginning of the month, and it was now the end of the month. The factory paid wages at the end of every month, and I found out that they had a company dinner on the last day of the month. That's when I first met the boss, who I thought looked a lot like Theron. The company dinner was really fun. The boss said that our factories' products were getting a good reputation and were going to be exported to 10 countries. He said we should prepare for more work in the future. And as soon as he said, "Thanks to your hard work, I've doubled this month's salary," everyone cheered. The boss seemed to be a generous and kind person. Eating tortillas with beer made me feel even better. That day, we went to a karaoke bar for the second round. The boss said he should leave early on days like this, and the remaining employees had a great time. Then something exciting happened. Theron grabbed the microphone and started singing a ballad. And he was a good singer. He was handsome and a good singer, so I started to fall for him. I was drunk and the lyrics of the song were sad, so I started crying. Theron took my hand while he was singing and we sang together. The older women were shouting, "Go for it, go for it." My heart was pounding at the thought of wanting to work things out with Theron, just like the older women suggested. After leaving the karaoke bar, the employees hurried home, and I was on my way home as well. I was the only one heading in the direction of my house when I heard, "Alicia, wait a minute." When I turned around, it was Theron. He said he had something to say and asked if we could talk somewhere nearby. We didn't want to go back into a bar, so we went to a playground in a nearby apartment complex. Theron asked if I was okay now. I had been crying earlier. I told him I had a moment of sorrow thinking about my late husband. Theron said he didn't know I had such pain and held my hand. His hand was warm. That's when I realized that age doesn't matter in love. I was attracted to Theron, and when Theron held my hand first, I felt like I was flying. Theron said he had something to tell me, but he wanted to do it after he was sober. That night, I couldn't sleep a wink. It wasn't because Theron was the boss's son. I felt him as a man because of his caring and kind impression, and I wanted to meet him if I had the chance. The next morning, just before I went to work, I received a text message. He said he wanted to talk after work and asked if I could come to Starbucks. I hesitated for a moment, then replied, "Of course, I can." I don't know where the energy came from as I hadn't slept and had been working all day. I worked lightly and met Theron. Theron said he wanted to meet with me. From that day on, we exchanged looks without the employees knowing. The number of dates increased, and we had a good time at night. Theron even said this one day. He said there's an empty room inside the factory office. It's a space to rest when tired from work. But the employees don't know about that room. After all the older women leave work, we can rest together in that room. Theron, who was coming on strongly, was so cute that I spent some good times in his room using overtime as an excuse. I've been seeing Theron for over a year. Theron and I love each other very much. The boss even raised my allowance, so I'm earning more than I did at my previous job. The boss says he will introduce me to his father when he gets a chance, but I have no intention of hindering the path of a young man or giving him a burden. It's amazing in itself that I have a boyfriend at this age. I'm quite satisfied with my situation. If Theron, who understands a widow's heart, is in a hurry, I'm thinking of rushing to him.